The K5 is Kia's new mid-size sedan that replaces the Optima here in the United States. It is just the successor, so it's the 5th generation of that Optima platform, just renamed to K5 to fit in with the global naming scheme from Kia. And I was always a fan of the Optima ever since its 2nd generation, but really loved the styling of the 3rd and 4th generation, and have a bunch of reviews going back to 2008 of the Optima. And it was always in my top 3 of mid-size sedans to get. So I'm interested to see if the K5 holds up to that. Styling wise, I can definitely say it already does. I love the styling of this. So let's jump into the exterior design here. Then we'll jump inside, take a look at the interior. Then we'll drive it. We'll talk about the engine that powers this thing and how it is to drive. Then we'll talk about some of the trims and price and competition. And then we'll wrap the video up there. Let's just get into it. And let's talk about that exterior design. I think it's a really great looking, really well designed vehicle, especially for this segment. You do get that nice fastback profile, much like the new Sonata, but this one has a lot of really nice elements that are key to the Kia design, including these new headlights with the Z-shaped running lights. I think they look really good, especially with the running lights going down the road. Next, you have that textured grille with a lot of nice design elements going into that. Again, for this segment, that is a really nicely designed grille. Everything in the front is just squished, pulled, and teased to really give this that sporty profile. We do also have those fog lights down there. Moving along the side, you can see those side mirrors in gloss black with the turn indicator embedded in them. They do fold, but not auto fold, which I would have loved to have on this vehicle, but you can push them in if you really need to. You also have this chrome strip that goes from the A pillar over the B pillar and C pillar. After the C pillar, it's actually more predominant. It goes all the way around the vehicle, all the way through the trunk, which we'll get to in just a second. But before we do, let's stay on the side here. Take a look at those wheels. These are 19-inch machine alloy wheels with Pirelli P0 tires, definitely giving it that sporty cred. You can also see we do have the keyless entry here with the push button on the door handle to lock and unlock the vehicle. Back around the back, you do get the LED taillights with the LED bar going across the entire width of the vehicle. We do get the quad tip dual exhaust here and that lower fascia, again really pushing the sportiness of this vehicle. You can see that K5 badge, Kia badge, and the GT badge there, and you get a nice sporty design with this vent outlets here. Back up to the trunk, you do get that gloss black rear spoiler, just enough to let people know that it is sporty without being a gaudy spoiler. Back to that chrome strip that goes all the way around. And you can see, much like in the Hyundai Elantra that we reviewed, from the back windshield, you get this extra black piece here on the trunk that makes it look like the windshield goes even further than it actually does, adding to that sportback look, even though it is a trunk and not a sportback. But I think it's a nice design element, along with the black roof with the panoramic sunroof there. And one other thing to touch on as we're looking at the exterior of this vehicle is the dimensions of it. Now, my first impressions were that this was a smaller vehicle than the Optima, but that is a design trick. That is not actual fact. So let's get into the actual facts. So the full length here of the K5 is 193.1 inches, while the Optima was 191.1 inches. So it's about 2 inches longer. Wheelbase, much the same. The wheelbase of this is 112.2 inches, while the Optima was 110.4. The width of this vehicle is exactly the same as the Optima. Both were 73.2. but this is 56.9 inches tall, while the 2020 Optima was 57.7 inches tall. So it is a bit shorter, a bit longer, but the same width as the Optima it replaces. And I just thought that was interesting because, again, whenever I first saw this vehicle, even after I drove it, I really thought this was smaller than the Optima until I went and looked up the numbers. With that, let's move to the trunk and check out the cargo volume of the K5 before we move inside and check out the interior. All right, guys, and obviously you can pop the trunk from a button inside, a button on the key, or a button here on the trunk lid itself. It is a really good size trunk for the midsize segment. It's 16 cubic feet of cargo volume, which is plenty for luggage, for golf clubs, for camera gear, for kids, activity equipment. And you do get a 60-40 split rear seat that you can drop from back here in the trunk if you need the extra space. With that, let's jump inside, take a look at the interior, then we'll take it for a drive. All right, let's talk really quickly about this interior. Starting with the back seats. The back seats are a nice place to be. They are a good size. Kids rode back there 3 wide, no issues. Super comfortable, and the materials back there are just as nice as up here in the front. Getting to the materials up here in the front, it is a really nice place to be. You get a lot of premium materials in this GT. We do have leather bucket seats with red stitching and the GT logo stitched here. We get black with red stitching along the doors and the center console. We get this nice wood trimming that goes from the doors up through the dash. But let's take a closer look around. All right, so this interior has been completely redesigned. Like I said, it's got a lot of nice materials. You get a lot of nice tech. So let's start off with this 10.25 inch touchscreen display. Obviously we get Apple CarPlay here, and you do get wireless Apple CarPlay as well as wireless Android Auto. And you get Kia's infotainment system here with navigation, which is a nice, responsive, and easy to figure out system. And this big wide screen is really nice. You can see you do get a physical volume and power button. The rest of the buttons on here are touch sensitive buttons. Moving down from that, you can see our push button start, our hazard lights, then all of our AC controls. Back further in this little console area, you get 2 USB Type A charging ports. Only USB Type A, no USB Type C in this car. You also get this accessory power plug. Moving back is our traditional gear shifter here. We do have a reverse camera, no 360 camera. Moving back from that is your electronic parking brake, an auto hold button. We do have heated and cooled seats, and that toggle is right here. You have your drive mode dial here, which we'll talk more about as we get this thing out on the road, and your heated steering wheel button. Right here in the gap of the console and these buttons is a wireless charger for your phone, and it's pretty nice because it's got this little push-in area, so your phone sits in there nice and tight and will wirelessly charge. And again, that coupled with the wireless Apple CarPlay is a nice system. Looking back into this console, it is a good size console. We do have another USB port in here just for charging, and of course a good place to store some trash. Next up, we'll take a look at the steering wheel. It is a leather wrap steering wheel with nice stitching, not the red stitching that you get in the rest of the interior. It's just a dark stitching. It is a flat bottom steering wheel with the GT logo here on the bottom. The GT also has paddle shifters here on the steering wheel. And we do get function buttons here on the steering wheel, which are basically the same ones that you get in other Kias. These are all your audio controls and phone controls. So your mode for your stereo, volume, changing the tracks, phone, and touch to talk. And then these are your cruise control settings, as well as interfacing with your digital display, which we'll talk about in just a second. And we'll get to some of the driving features as we get driving the vehicle. But let's take a look back here behind the steering wheel. You do get a digital information display that can be toggled through many different areas. And we get 2 analog gauges. Now you do have an optional 12.3 inch digital cluster and driver information display. This one obviously does not have that included. And before we move on, we do have the 12 speaker Bose audio system in here, which sounds really good, very bassy, matches really well with the wireless Apple CarPlay. All right, with that, let's get this thing back out on the road. So first thing to talk about is the engine and power from this thing. You do have two engine options. One is a 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. The other is what we have here, the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. That 1.6 liter engine gets 180 horsepower, 195 foot-pounds of torque, and is a pretty good setup. And that's what you get in all the trim levels except this GT. And the GT gets that 2.5 liter turbo, which gets 290 horsepower, 311 foot-pounds of torque, which is a best-in-class torque rating. And it really shows this thing can get up and go. Now it is hampered a bit being a front-wheel drive platform. We'll talk a little bit more about the competition and what Kia wants us to compete with in a little bit, but I will just say that anything that is rear-wheel drive with sort of similar power ratings will automatically be a little bit better, just for the simple fact that it's not having to power and drive the same exact wheels. That base engine comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. This also has an 8-speed, but it is the quick shift dual clutch transmission, which makes this a great pair, again, for sporty driving. And we do have steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, which allows you to manually shift gears. I don't often use those in a vehicle like this, but if you need them, they are there. Fuel economy on this setup is 24 miles per gallon city, 32 miles per gallon highway. During my time in the vehicle, we've been averaging just over 24 miles to the gallon, but some of that is pushing the car hard. Some of it is letting it idle as we take pictures and video, and a lot of it is city driving and not highway driving, so take that number for what it is, but we are at just over 24 miles to the gallon. We do have Kia DriveWise, which is their group of safety assist features. So we have smart cruise control with highway assist, forward collision avoidance assist, blind spot collision avoidance, and junction turning avoidance assist. All really good systems, and I think that Kia's lane keeping assist is a really good one in the market. It's really good for long road trips where you're just not always as attentive as you should be. All right, and we do have a couple of different driving modes here, including a normal, a Sport Plus, and a Custom. There is no Eco mode, which is pretty interesting in this vehicle, but you do get a Sport and Sport Plus. It is the GT. They do claim that the 0 to 60 time is quicker than you can get in a BMW 330i, so let's do a quick 0 to 60 run, see what we think. So we are in Sport Plus. We've got a straightaway ahead of us. Let's hit it. Ready, set, go. Oh, 60. Yeah, this thing is quick. It will haul. This platform isn't just all power. You do have good braking in here. It does get its own larger brakes with GT calipers. We also get sport tuned suspension in here, really just beefing up that GT experience. All right, so let's find a place to pull back over. We'll talk about the trims offered with the K5, as not everybody's getting the GT. We'll talk about the price and some of the competition, and then we'll start wrapping the video up there. So you already know we're driving the GT, and that is the top of the line trim, but you do have other trims to choose from. The base trim is an LX. Next up is the LXS. Then you have the all new GT line, which is a lot of the styling and stuff from the GT, but not the same engine. And you have the EX, which is more of the just luxury trim. And then finally you have the GT. The base LX comes in just over $23,000. The base GT is just over $30,000. And the one we're sitting in here is just under $36,000, which for everything that you get and the performance and technology that this has in it is a pretty good price. So what does it compete with? Well, if you go onto Kia's website and you scroll through the K5 information, you'll see a lot of comparisons to the BMW 3 Series. And they'll let you know that this does outperform the 330i on a lot of different stats, including price. And while I don't think that's a super fair comparison, it's not inaccurate. This thing is faster, more powerful, and cheaper than one of the base 3 Series vehicles. But some of its real competition is the Hyundai Sonata, the Honda Accord, the Mazda 6, the Toyota Camry, and the Nissan Altima. Out of all those, obviously that Hyundai Sonata is going to be the closest to this because they share a platform. I really enjoy the Mazda 6, especially if you're looking for something more sporty looking and sporty feeling. But just like before, if I was looking for a midsize sedan in this market, this would definitely be in my top 2 or 3. That Sonata, again, is probably in my top 1 or 2. And if you were going for the GT and the sportiness, it would actually be a little difficult to pick between this and the Stinger. Obviously, the Stinger is more money, but you're getting rear-wheel drive and a little bit more performance focus. But I do really like the Optima and where it sits, and this GT trim is just great. So let's jump out of this car one more time. I'll give you my final thoughts and we'll wrap the video up. All right, guys, so let's wrap the video up with some final thoughts. And I think I've definitely made it clear that I do really like the Kia K5. Really love the design. Think it looks really good. And topping the previous Optima design was always gonna be a feat. But that's definitely one thing that Kia and Hyundai get right, is focusing on design. It might not be for everybody, but again, I really like it. The interior didn't wow me. It's definitely just a Kia, although that's not saying anything bad about the vehicle. Kia's interiors have been decent enough, and this one is, again, just decent enough. Nothing that wowed me about the interior, but nothing that draws me away from the vehicle because of the interior. Driving, excellent. It's not rear-wheel drive, it's only front-wheel drive, but if you want rear-wheel drive, you have the option of the Stinger. But for what it is, the dynamics of the GT are really great. And lastly, with the price of this thing is great as well. Nice and inexpensive for everything that you get. So if you're looking at getting one, I have no reservations in recommending this vehicle. Even if you're looking at the GT trim, which is the most expensive trim. Again, if you're going for super high performance and you can spend a little bit more money, get the Stinger, but this thing is really good. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the new K5 and the K5 GT. Also, be sure to go check out TXGARAGE.com if you haven't already. We've got a lot of written reviews there from a lot of great contributors, as well as news and event coverage. We also have a newsletter you can sign up for to keep track of everything that we're doing. We also have some merch for sale if you're interested in that. But again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.